Hello everybody, welcome to another Eternal Deck Tech video. I do really appreciate everybody stopping by today, and a big shout out, of course, as always, to all of my subs and patrons who make this possible, and of course to our sponsor, inkedgaming.com. We've got a whole bunch of new mouse pads and playmats and stuff up there in the coat of arms that was done by Aether Altars, so I'm super excited about that. You can check out the store down below and get a little bit of a discount. This week, this is a deck that I have been working on a lot. You can see there's actually a few discarded versions here as well, but we are trying to break Governor Sahin. So we're going to jump right on in. If you've seen what Sahin does, then you'll already know what I'm probably trying to do, and you can kind of guess by the actual deck image here. But Governor Sahin has, once per turn, you may pay 3 and sacrifice a relic to play the top relic of your deck. Obviously, there are some pretty good relics that got added to the game recently. The main one that I'm interested in, probably the most broken relic that they've done so far, just like as the most powerful, it's really expensive, so I mean there's a reason, is Martyr's Chains. So at the end of your turn, you double the attack and health of all of your units, and every single time you play a power, you get to kill an enemy unit. Yeah. So this thing tends to swing games really, really quickly. Cool thing to note about Governor Sahin is that when you do pay to sacrifice a relic, you actually just don't exhaust the card, so it automatically gets the +3/+3 if it lives till the end of the turn, doubling itself, right? So it goes to 6/6, and you can have it as a blocker. So even if you're not killing something right away, it can be pretty big to just have a big threat in play and stop your opponent from hitting you in the face. So it can be really, really useful to stabilize, because I've had that happen more than once where, you know, I'm in trouble, I play Sahin, I get a Martyr's Chains, I kill something, now I have a 6/6 Sahin, and I'm actually in a place where they can't really attack in and I've stabilized, and at that point, Martyr's Chains can just take over the game. So the big question is, how do we do the shell of this? And I've been trying a lot of different ways to do it. I think that this is one of the better ones. I don't think that this deck is going to be super competitive. Our last one ended up being way better than it seemed, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But this one, yeah, I don't know. I'm still uncertain as to where to go with it. I feel like there's got to be something here. It might just be that Sahin is a little too expensive, because ultimately it's 7 cost. It's over 2 turns. Like, you can spend some time on it. You can do it on turn 4, and then turn 5 you can sacrifice a relic. But then you're risking Sahin. It does die to Torch. Like, it's kind of a tough one. But, man, when this deck goes off, if you can actually get the Martyr's Chains, it's amazing. So the rest of the deck, the shell of it, is going to be our Stirring Sand Sentinel kind of combo list. So you might have seen this quite a few times before. This is an older list. There's a couple of new twists. I mean, obviously the Martyr's Chains is pretty big, but the other thing that goes hand in hand with Martyr's Chains is the title of the deck, is the Cookbook. So you have to have a relic to sacrifice first, the Sahin, so you have to have something to get the chains out, which is more than a little bit of its downside, because of the fact that you have to have a relic to get a relic. That means that you have to play a certain number of relics, and you get stuck in this zone of, if you sacrifice things to Sahin, well, it might not actually get you Martyr's Chains. But we're hoping the rest of the deck can make up for that and be really, really powerful, so that when we do come down to coin flipping for Martyr's Chains, we're in a pretty decent spot. There's also some other ways to mitigate that, but I'll get into that in a second. So the rest of the deck is all about Back Alley Delinquent, Learned Herbalist, discarding Heart of the Vault, Great-Kiln Titan, and using things like Grasping at Shadows or Stirring Sand to play them back from our void very, very cheaply. Another cool advantage of this is that Great-Kiln Titan also works with relics. It's something that people generally, like myself included, don't really think about. You always think of, like, at the end of your turn, you play the top card of your deck. You don't often think about that when you play a relic, deal damage equal to its cost to an enemy. So, yeah, you can also just combo somebody out by having a couple Great-Kiln Titans and hitting Martyr's Chains and going, boom, 16 you. Or 16 a couple of things that you have in play. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do that way as well. And you can also use Great-Kiln Titan as another way to just play the Martyr's Chains, because it does happen to play things off the top of your deck. You obviously have no regular Justice in the deck. You can't actually play Martyr's Chains normally. And yeah, like I said, I'll get into how we mitigate that in a minute. But the back alley Delinquents and Learned Herbalists are there to discard these cards, and then Stirring Sands or Grasping at Shadows them back. You've got some Aurelian Merchants so that you can use like all of the different cool cards in your market, and of course it gives you some ramp because, yeah, you'd like to get Heart of the Vault into your Void and then just get it back with Stirring Sands on turn 4. But there's nothing wrong with getting it out on turn 5 or 6 or something by just ramping it a little bit. And we've got enough fixing and crests and stuff that should be pretty reasonable to do. We have Torch and Annihilate as our removal spells, and then a whole lot of things to just kind of make the draws smoother with Cull and Quarry. We have 3 Seek powers. Obviously, there's the Cauldron Cookbooks to also help with all of this. And we've got 25 power, quite a few sigils, because we are trying to play like the Learned Herbalists. So we've got 5 sigils, the Seek powers. You might want to go up on that. It's probably not a terrible plan, but I haven't had too many problems yet myself. Because generally, if you're at a point where you can't find any more power cards off of Seek Power, you're probably doing okay anyways. But yeah, now, the reason why we have 4 Cull decks and 4 Quarries, like, that's a lot of different searching through our deck, which is probably good for the deck anyways, but it's especially important for us because we really don't want to draw Martyr's Chains. We still have the ability to discard it to Learned Herbalist or Back Alley Delinquent, so we can still get something out of it, or trade it away with Aurelian Merchant, so it's not 100% dead. But the best thing that we can do is right away go, like, call the deck and put it on the bottom, right? Just move these right to the bottom. It's also why we're playing 12 Crests. I don't normally like to have this many depleted power cards in my deck, but we need a lot of Crests in this deck to actually make it work. We need these Crests to make sure that we can put Martyr's Chains on the bottom, and then we don't have to worry about having it in hand. It's, like I said, not end of the world if you do, but it's way, way better if you don't just have to draw the stupid thing. The last thing, of course, is our market. We have Sandstorm Titan to stop really awful flyers or like super aggro starts. We have another Stirring Sand just as a way to make it a little bit more consistent for us to get things out of the void. Passage of Eons to stop all of the other relic decks like the deck that I showed off last week, which is super, super fun. And we have a Moment of Creation because Moment of Creation works pretty well with 22 spells. And I mean, just make a couple of really big Sentinels and it can pull us back out of a game where we might be in a lot of trouble. They're like going wide or they've got one big unit that we need to answer, and Moment of Creation can kind of help us with that. So I thought there might be some situations where we would be in where Moment of Creation would be a good idea. I'm actually going to change one thing here. I'm not going to have the Waystones. I'm going to just put some extra regular power cards in here, just because we want to have a few extra sigils for the Seek Power and Learned Herbalist. I thought that I had changed that, but I hadn't. So off we go. We're going to play some games and see how this deck does. Wish me luck.